I have so much fun doing these with you.
All right, welcome back to the Always Right podcast. I'm author Carissa DeLay, and this is the well-dressed
Halloween
Jamie Vadera
Cholo
and his water bottle. You know, we should probably just have a separate
podcast for the water
camera.
bottle.
Well, no, just a camera for your guest water bottle.
Okay. Well, maybe I should let it be in this one with me.
Yeah, have its own. Like we could literally probably have its own little.
What?
Oh
my God, what's wrong with me?
In this episode, we're going to tackle a brief description of the different types of publishing. There's a lot to go over, so we're going to make this brief, and then we can tackle them individually later down the road as we get more into them. But for the most part, we're going to talk about the basic types of publishing with books, and then we will go over different types of ways of your writing getting out there. Something I didn't think about when I was putting this together was when you are publishing your songs, do you have to copyright those prior to singing them to make sure they're not?
You can still go through the actual copyright office to do it, but I do a lot of clients through Jason Davis Management, and we had this discussion because one of my students, Danny Black, we were talking. She's a songwriter. This is back in January, and I said, man, you could probably write 100 songs in a year. And she said, I could write 100 songs in 100 days. And she wrote 100 songs in 90 days. And it blew my mind. And good songs, not like cheesy songs. She's really good. And we were worried. I was like, you need to do like a verse and chorus for each song and start something on Instagram. Like, hey, I'm Danny Black. I wrote 100 songs in 90 days. And here's song number 1. But we were worried about that. And Jason said the way the laws have changed so far is if she says the name of the song, she's singing it. It's almost like you have a legal leg to stand on.
Well, that's what we did. Yeah, that's what we did with Journey to Eden, because we were worried that my theories would get taken. So we timestamped them in a blog so I could get my general theories out there to be like, hey, I came out with this first.
Yeah, back in the day, like way back in, I remember the 80s and 90s, a buddy of mine was writing songs and started to write fiction, and he says, okay, here's what you got to do. Submit it to copyright, or you can do the poor man's copyright.
Oh, yeah, mail it to yourself?
Yeah, mail it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that do? It timestamps it.
Yes, it timestamps. You just can't open it.
You can't open it.
Capsule. You take your work, you send it to yourself, and you timestamp it.
That's why you're in court. You pull that package, and here's our next witness.
And then you open it up, and you're like, daggone it, this is the wrong piece of mail.
Yeah. Like, what? This is
the underwear I ordered.
This is... Or you won Publishers Clearinghouse.
When I was a kid, I loved that thing.
I did too.
I loved the little stickers that they had and all that. Like, it was definitely inviting for sure.
And Ed McMahon, but they always said the Mandela effect said Ed McMahon never was part of that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, I've seen it's like that's not he's not part of Publishers Clearinghouse. I'm like, yes, he is.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so now, I think the world is literally messing with me because there's times that I have learned things in school and I've learned things in just general, research. And I'll say it to my kids, like, oh, did you know? And my kid will be like, oh, I'm totally fact checking that. And she's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, wait, what? This was always a thing.
We're living in a matrix. We're living in something. Brainwashing.
Listen, those Matrix people can give me better options. I should be able to select. If y'all want to use Harvest My Energy, let me. I mean, yeah.
When you play a fantasy game, you get to choose whether you're a dwarf or a mage. Come on,
right? I want elf ears.
Yeah. I already got them. That's why I'm covered up.
What is it?
I already got them. That's why I'm covered up. No.
Oh. It's all right.
All right.
I married a husband with larger ears, and I'm okay with it.
And he's still living, right? He's okay.
Yes, since that podcast.
Yeah.
I want to make sure he was okay.
I haven't heard from him. I'm just concerned. So
he reached out and was like, I'm done. I'm okay for now.
Okay.
Which is funny because one of the people I game with, he's a police officer. Well, he's a state police officer in one of the states, and we talk, and he helps me with Canvas with some of the law enforcement stuff. And we'll be in a party for gaming, and he's like, Dylan, if you need me, I here's my number. You can reach out. Because I'm very aggressive sometimes when we're playing. And it's like if you're being abused at home, here I
You're
was
like,
like,
I
these books
saved this talk for the video games. Don't worry, I don't mistreat him when
no, I don't. It's just in the virtual world that I'm just like that. It's so funny when we're different on the outside.
Yeah, I can't
But
play with you. I'd probably cry. So,
I'm not nice. All right. So let's go back to where the original squirrel started and let's talk about publishing.
okay, let's do that.
All right. So there are essentially three basics, sort of. You've got your traditional publisher that everybody wants to seek out and find and get published by. You have your self-publishing, which is a lot quicker and you own and you're controlling that. And there's somewhere in the middle where we fall as hybrid publishers. And then there's also vanity publishers, which not a huge fan, but it's still an option. And sometimes you got to learn. So let's go over these.
You kind of said that like you learned.
I learned.
Okay.
Yeah, even though I self-published, I did it through a vanity publisher, which is, I feel, and I'm going to say this because I feel like when you're it's your thing and you've experienced, you have an opinion. I've said this before, if you don't have children, don't tell me how to raise my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through the vanity self-publishing. I've experienced it and I didn't have the best experience. Now I had a great cover. I had a great quality of book, but
Yeah,
it cost
you did.
me like an arm and a leg and someone else's toe. So it wasn't worth it in that aspect. But so let's talk about traditional publishing. So there is a misconception that, you can only be a legitimate author if you traditionally publish. We're here to tell you that's not true. There are actual published authors, self-published or indie publishers, which indie publishing is essentially like is kind of like in between hybrid and traditional. Some of the bigger publishing companies come out with smaller versions of themselves, little sister corporations that are considered indie. But for the most part, we're going to keep it into three houses. We're going to go traditional, hybrid, and self, and some trickle in between. But traditionally, when you're published, you get to write a book. But before you can be picked up by that traditional publisher, you have to find an agent. So you have to find an agent who, one, is not only an agent, you have to find out how to write a letter to them, an email to them. And it has to have a certain, which we're going to go over how to write a query letter, how to do a synopsis. Some require a query letter, and some require a query letter and a synopsis. And most generally, an agent has already in their system a algorithm that if you do not write that query letter in the appropriate way, it kicks it out. They'll never even see your email.
You're talking about good agents too, because
Right.
there's a lot of agents I've actually seen. Agents. I know of a
007.
do what?
007. Not that type of agent.
Yeah, not that type of agent. Like, close, but I have an authors actually through us now. They hired an agent. I think they spent $30K in like 3 months, and nothing.
Well, and so like getting an agent, people don't realize it's not just getting an agent. You don't get an agent and then your agent's like, I'm going to go sell your book to some people. Before an agent will even take your book to a publishing house, they may have you rewrite a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They maybe say like, you got to scrap this chapter. You got to do this. You got to do that. They're going to basically do a whole bunch of editing, and it may cost you a bunch of money and time before you even get it sent to a publisher. And before a publisher can even like think about taking it. That's not even a guarantee. I got an agent. That's no guarantee that you'll actually get a publisher. So they're kind of like your middle ground. Now they can be really good for people who are not sure and don't know which way to navigate and you want to take and you want to sit. Some people can wait like years, like 4 years before they even get picked up by an agent, or they never get picked up by an agent.
I tried. I couldn't get picked up by an agent for Raise Your Voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I never was going to self-publish, and I thought, screw it, I'll do it myself. Started out with the self-publisher. Of course, I grew into a hybrid as I started publishing other people's books.
Right.
But
no,
still
it is a good thing. It is a good thing because agents are neutral and they're going to look at your book and be like, this is not what I'm looking for, or this is what I'm looking for, but I need you to revamp it. They may give you some like unsolicited advice that may help your book. So there is that potential too. So you're going to get your agent, they're going to try and sell it to a traditional publisher, one of the bigger corporations. Well, once you get picked up by that, you're going to have to face some other challenges. One, you've got a whole team who is going to need to be paid for your book. You're going to need a whole team to edit, to cover all these things that you have to essentially pay for. You feel like traditional publishing is going to pay you these big bucks, which you do get a payout, but until the money that is paid to create your book and put it into print is recouped, I think the average current is between 4 to 10%, meeting the middle about 7% is what your royalty is with your traditional publishing.
Yeah, I was surprised. Of course, this is off topic, but we got a foreign rights deal for Elizabeth Sabine's book, Strengthening Your Singing Voice, and we got 10% for Japan, for Japanese version, which was like, wow, we weren't expecting that.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the thing. When there's like pros and cons between going traditional and not going traditional. So let's just compare traditional publishing. There's no upfront costs. They're going to pay for everything. They're going to do all this stuff. You might have like probably 3 to 5 editors in the process, which all costs money. So that's all going to be put on to a tab for your book. Essentially, you're like running up a bar tab on your book with the traditional, but you're not paying for it up front. You will be paying for it on the back end. So don't look at it like you're never paying for it. You are going to pay for it in the end because you don't get any royalties until that's all paid back. You can potentially possibly maybe sell more books because they have a bigger marketing team. They have other ways of getting into different arenas for your book. But with the digital world, I mean, in social media, as a self-publisher, you have the same opportunities to do this as well, which we'll talk about.
So much more now. I mean, you look at somebody like, just type up the name author Amanda Hocking, who's self-publisher. She blew up over a decade ago, but made a killing on her own. And I do believe she eventually went with a publisher, but it was a good deal.
Right.
If I remember right. But you don't need that, because back in the day, if you wanted to be with like Ballantine Books or somebody, you're paying for their notoriety. Like, they have big authors on there already that, they're selling, and they're in the bookstores, and we're talking back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And so you're like, oh, if I can get on that publisher, I have a better shot of becoming a famous author. It's a lot of work.
You're paying for the label. You're getting, yes, the label, which, so this day and age though, so honestly, some of the smaller publishing indie houses are doing a lot more because the availability with social media is there, and you're getting a higher percentage of your royalties when you do that, which we'll talk about. But with self-publishing, I mean, you are going to have upfront costs. Like we talked in the last podcast, you're going to buy your ISBN, you're going to get your barcode. And it's a very competitive market in both aspects, traditional and self-publishing, because you've got a lot of self-published authors and you've got a lot of traditional published people who are, going against each other for that shelf at Barnes and Noble or Books A Million. But like there are indie in between. There's like that middle ground where we fall with Vendera Publishing, that we are a hybrid borderline indie publishing group where we currently offer the royalties of 25% we keep and 75% goes to the author, but the author pays for the majority of the stuff up front, other than we pay for the ISBN and we
like print uploading to LSI, but the author is paying for. And we're very particular. So it isn't like if you go to Amazon now, everybody's an author, and I'm everyone deserves that right. But quality control, poor editing, poorly written book, poor looking book cover. So we do have a quality of standard. If you're having your book cover designed, your interior design, the editing, that all has to be done.
Right. And so that's the thing. Like, so we have the two versions. We have where we will allow you to have more control and higher percentage of your earnings. And we say royalties, that's after the cost of the book. That doesn't mean if your book sells for $20, you get $20. You probably get $4.
Yeah, because
you never for hard copy.
Yeah, because if it's a hardback, if it's an 8x10, we don't know. We have it may cost, like Raise Your Voice probably cost me $8 to print. So, and then if I'm going through Amazon, it may be between 30 to 55% discount I'm giving them, so just so they can buy it and resell it. So all these factor in to what you get. So I probably make $5 a book, which is still good. I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, I remember years ago talking to Daniel Munson from Scribe Freelance, and we said, "Hey, if you can make $1 a book, be happy.
Yeah.
That's good."
Well, and that's with traditional publishing. Your percentage, your royalty, I cannot talk. Your royalties will be probably around 7%. Um, and that 7% is on book profit after market, like after the everything, like
Everything.
for, yeah, if it's a $20 book, your royalties that the publishing company might be $4, but you only get like 7%
7%
of
of it.
that.
Yes.
So just do the math there. And the thing is, you don't even start making those royalties until after that lump sum that they paid you up front is taken care of.
Yeah, if they even pay you a lump sum up front.
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, book deals don't always incorporate that when it comes to traditional. I mean, and it can literally be hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars just because like, oh yeah, I got a book deal. They pay you, yeah. How much they pay you? $3.
I
Green all
had an
hair.
author like call me. He's like, "Hey, is it, you think there's any way like I could get like I can't remember if it was like $5,000 up front on this?" And I'm laughing, and I'm not laughing like being mean. I'm like, you know what? As Vendera Publishing, yes, we do help with marketing. We're doing the podcast and other things, but it is a lot of times it is up to the author to hit the ground running and
Mm-hmm.
drive and be in social media. They haven't really done this, and I'm like, I will not do that because I don't know when you're going to bring that money back, and they
Right.
haven't followed through, they haven't pushed,
Mm-hmm.
and but that's not all authors are that way, and this author
Right. Well,
isn't.
that's where you hit that middle ground. We have that middle ground that's kind of like where you hit. Self-publishing, you're going to pay all that up front, but you're going to get your royalties back.
Exactly,
Not guarantee you're going to
100%.
get your money back, but anything that you make profit-wise is yours. It's not, you're not paying this person or that person. That is yours. When you load that book as a self-published author, you're getting all of your royalties. And is Amazon quarterly still?
No, I get
Monthly?
yeah, monthly,
Okay.
but it's
Yeah.
like they pay 2 months behind. So
Yeah.
it's always like, you see what the profit is from 2 months ago, and that's when you get paid. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something we're going to go to. There's a podcast on the set list, which we get into some of the KDP and some of the back end as a self-published where you can go in and kind of control some of those things. There are options on Amazon. You can go in there and you can kind of change your ads. You can put some money into it. Uh, there's no real algorithm. Now you're going to fall into places where people are like, I can tell you how to sell your KDP. I can tell you how to, like how to sell your Kindle, whatever. The algorithm depends on the trend.
yeah, we've actually discussed this, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember even pushing you to somebody I thought was good, and you had actually because we're always researching, and we
Mm-hmm.
researched something, and you took it over, and he's like, I'm already doing this. There's nothing I could learn from this person,
Mm-hmm.
and it does depend on the trend. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing on TikTok or Instagram. One thing blows up. It's like it could be Vampire,
Mm-hmm.
the newest song out, and everybody's singing it. But
Right.
6 months from now, nope, it won't be the newest trend, and it'll be
Yeah.
something else. It'll be a dog bouncing a balloon off of their nose. So
Well, there's always trending songs too. Like so, which is
exactly, that's
what we have a podcast on social media. We'll go over those things, how to know, how to look for those things, so you can kind of like put your book out there and know what to hashtag and think and that nature as far as to further maybe get your book into viewers, on social media, which is hard for people who are introverted authors. It's hard to put yourself out there. I'm not introverted, by the way.
I'm extroverted, introverted. I think I love to be seen, but I just want to stay home.
So I'm going to send you the personality test, and we're going to figure this out because our whole family took it, and you can
Yeah.
find out what you are. So, all right. So some of the cons of traditional publishing, like I said, it's very competitive. It's a lengthy process. It's not like, oh, I got picked up by a publisher, and I'm going to have my book out in the next couple months. No, you're going to get picked up by an agent first. That may take sometimes 3 months to a year to get the book ready to go to a publisher, and publishers can take quite a lot of time just finding where their niche is going to be, where they're going to be able to put your book out. When they want to put they're going to wait for the right season. And it may take 2 years to get that ready. Cover art, editing, because it's a constant editing.
And all that
Process
time, the money is just building up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's just
And
time on them.
you think that, oh, I'm an author. It's over. I've reached my goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's writing your book and getting a deal is the easy part.
Right.
This is
Here and
where,
here's the part that is for me like it's a no. It's going to be a no. Is you lose a lot of creative control.
correct.
Once you sign that and you're like, this, I'm taking a small percentage of my book is mine. That grand majority of that book is now owned by that publishing company to do what they want with it. And you lose a lot of creative control as to what's going to be out there. Like we've talked, like if we've talked about using Rich, I'm like, no, I'm putting that back in there because I want that in there. You lose that control. And like your royalty fees are lower. And you don't get as much marketing support because it's their marketing. So their marketing is their marketing. So you don't get to decide certain things. You don't have the freedom to be like, I'm going to push this book here, here, and here. And they're like, no, that's not a part of the deal. This is how you're going to push this book. You don't get that freedom as much.
Absolutely. And it's not just that. Elizabeth Sabine, again, is another example. I won't say who the big publisher she was with, huge publisher. And they did a press print, ran it, they sold it out. And then they just, we don't want to redo it. We done it.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't really make much more royalties. And Liz was in her 80s. She's one of my vocal coaches. And she's like, I just don't want my legacy to die. And that's when I became a publisher. I didn't want to become a publisher, but I love this woman so much that I'm like, what do I have to do to help her get her book out? So we redid the cover, we edited it, pictures, everything. I paid for everything. She's like, oh, it must cost. I'm like, I can say this now because she's passed. Spent many thousands of dollars and told her, oh, it was easy. It didn't cost me a thing. I wasn't going to let her pay for anything. Put it out there and started selling more books. And she was very, very happy. And she had creative control. You know, she made the cover that she wanted. We talked about this before. The cover that she wanted. And it was towards the end of her life. So I'm like, I just want to make this woman happy. So if you are with a big publisher, yeah, you may have a good run. But maybe they may look at it and be like, we don't want to do a reprint. You know, we had our day. You know, we sold 10,000 copies. Yeah, we're good. So then you're kind of stuck. Luckily, we were able to get them to relinquish the rights so that we could take it back over.
That's good that you were able to do that because
that's rare. But yeah.
All right. So now with self-publishing, it's pretty self-explanatory. You're self-publishing. You're doing this. You're getting your ISBN. You're getting your barcode. You are in control. You're getting all your royalties. Again, just because it's a $20 book doesn't mean you're making $20, but you are going to make the full royalties on what comes from Amazon or Barnes and Noble or wherever you sell that. With that said, though, you are limited where you can print from. With self-publishing, you can print through, I think is it the KDP, the creative space that Amazon has?
Yeah, you can do KDP, and I think I have to go back in there, Crystal. I think it's 30% that you'll make if it's a 99-cent book. $2.99 or more, you make 70%. You can choose that royalty. So you do have more control of that. They will print it in a book. You won't need an ISBN. They'll make an ASIN number for them. But you could also use somebody like Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark is a little company.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of like a smaller of
Lightning Source Incorporated, which is Lightning Source Printing, which is what we use. A lot of people do it, you know, and if you would use Ingram Spark, at least you can get it in Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can make it available to anybody who sells ebooks or print books all over the world so that you do have that more creative control.
And you can control a lot of the different aspects. You can control your editing a little bit more. But at the same time, if you're doing it on self, you're limited to your network. Unless you have a network. Some people literally have a network already. They're like already in a group of people that are editors. And so use that. I mean, but not everybody has that option to be able to do that. But with this self-publishing, you also can, you can like create your own covers and not pay someone. You can create your own layout. I mean, you could do everything on your own, and
you could self-edit if you wanted to.
I don't suggest self-editing.
I just took the words out of my mouth. Yes, but it's just like songs.
I don't care who you are. You will always miss something. I don't care if you are like, you know, the god to grammar. You will miss something.
Speak for yourself. I can text to speech like a.
Listen, your talk to text is like is the epitome of why we don't self-publish or self-edit. self-edit for sure.
Uh,
But okay, so you're gonna have more control. Basically that. Now, the little skirt to the side of self-publishing is the vanity publishing. Vanity publishing is sort of it's self-publishing, but it's and I'm going to say this and I'm going to mean it that you can go through a company that is preying on you,
yeah.
that you don't know how to do this. You're afraid you're going to do it wrong. You're afraid that if I do this, it's not going to be printed properly. I'm going to do the layout wrong. They're preying on people who are insecure about making it whatever. I was one of those people because I wanted to make sure that when I did self-publishing that I had the best version I could do, but I was afraid I was going to do it wrong. Am I going to load the artwork wrong? Am I going to do whatever? I was going on hours of sleep when I wrote my first book. So for me, I was like, I don't have the extra time to put in to make sure I'm doing this right. And I had a friend who had self-published, but I didn't like the feel of their book. I didn't want to use the creative space that they used on Amazon. I didn't like the feel of it. I'm like, I want a different feel of different. So I went with a bigger vanity publishing, self-publishing company, but you can choose what type of a la carte systems you want. And they'll give you all this marketing stuff. They're going to charge you so much money. They're going to give you thousands of dollars. And they're going to give you stuff to market your book, everything. It's not anything that's like one-on-one. It's a very standard, here's your cover. We're going to put your cover on all these bookmarks or put your cover. They don't go in there and actually work with you on one-on-one. They're just basically an outlet for you as a self-publisher to get your book out there and know that you're loading it properly. Make sure you got your ISBN number. Make sure you have all those things. The thing is, it's so expensive, but at the same time, they take advantage of you in a sense.
Yeah, I had a friend who did that, and he was so excited. He's like, I'm an author," and I think he spent like 10 grand. And basically what they did, I don't think they did a light edit. They didn't really offer any insight. They had the most generic cover generator cover in the world. It was like green,
Like for
ivory
AI.
green. Yes, and it was like, what? And for that price, he's like, all right, we'll spit it out. We'll put it on Amazon. Here's your ebook, and here's your 10 free copies. So then he had to buy every copy if he wanted to sell them. It was ridiculous. And I'm like,
what also happens when you become a part of the vanity world?
you probably lose your rights.
Well, you don't lose your rights, essentially. No. Because it's still a self-publishing thing. It's still yours. You're basically paying for a service. They're just offering
Charging you a lot.
Charging a lot of money for the service, and they'll offer you editing, even though it's not great editing. I went with a different editor. They'll offer you the cover stuff, which I never did that. I already had a cover, so I already done all that. I was just doing I need the book printed properly. But they put your name in a database. You do sign over your name to be able to be put in a database where you are constantly being called by people who want to take on your book. So that you get sold to other vanity authors.
Yeah, that's how I found you.
Publishing houses. What is it?
Yeah, that's how I found you.
Stop it. We know it was Louetta. We know Louetta is all responsible for that.
You know what's funny as you say this, and we kind of do that at Bandera Publishing with the 50-50, which 50-50 or 75-25 is unheard of. It really is. But when, even with Elizabeth, I was like, I know, because I looked at vanity publishers and the top publishing houses, and I immediately red flags with vanity. I was like, I'll never publish. I'll never pay them for that. But I thought, if this is their creative content, why should they only make like 3 or 4% up to 10%? That is like robbery. Same thing with songs. I mean, they do it the same way with songwriters.
That's why we have Taylor's version now.
Exactly, which was a smart move on her part. And so that's the one thing I always pride us on. We're not trying to own the rights to your book or the copyright. We work with you. Yes, you may have to pay some money, but you're not in that sense, unless we may move into something else to help with more services. But at the bottom line, if you're like, hey, I want 50% of mine, but I just don't have the money to pay you, will you pay for the cover and editing? I've done this for so many years. We have great cover designers, a great editor, great layout. So that'll always be done right. Or if you have it yourself, you can own more of the rights yourself. You can own 75%, and you feel like you're worth it. That you can see money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're marketing your book, if you're out there driving it and you're creating fans and posting TikTok videos and all that, so it is still a lot on you.
This is what Jamie's talking about, is what we are as Vendera Publishing, as hybrid publishers, where I'm in charge of the marketing. We have, I go in on the website. I take care of like a lot of the stuff you see on social media. But we have two basic types of offerings for authors. There's the 75-25, which the authors retain 75%, but you're paying for things. You are paying for the interior design, the book cover, any of the, like, those types of things, the editing. We are covering the marketing and the ISBN numbers and getting it loaded up and everything like that, taking care of all the back end stuff. That's what the 25% essentially pays for.
And you're talking about just general marketing. So you got to understand.
Just general.
Yeah, you're not you can't write your book and sit back like, I can't wait for the royalties to come in. You as an author, you got to realize that is your book, but you are the brand. So you have to build your brand. That is the only reason. I've always said this for years. I'm not a brand, but I'm always told, yes, you are. Look, you've been on Mythbusters. You've done this. But I was driven. I was pushing. I was grinding. And that's why I'd done so many television shows and was selling so many books when we first started all of this, because I was participating.
That was one of the reasons, like, even though I went through a vanity publisher the first time, I'm a pusher, I'm a seller. So, I can sell ice to an Eskimo or fire to the devil. So whenever I was when I published my book, even self-published, I went to so many art shows that allowed me to come in as a writing artist. They weren't author events, they were art events. But I would go in as a writing art. And the first one that I went to was the wine, what was it called? The Art in the Alley or something like that, like in Grove City, Ohio. Great people. And I messaged the guy on Chamber of Commerce. I'm like, I see you have an art show coming, Art in the Alley or whatever it's called. I see this coming up. I would love to be able to sell my books because I feel like my writing is a piece of art. He's like, I agree with you. Let's set you up. So then the next year I came back, he had a whole section for authors. He's like, he's like, I got a whole section for authors now. He's like, you guys are all over here. This is so cool. But I also am a painter. So I started painting scenes from my book.
Yes.
And I would sell a painting. People like, this painting just speaks to me. Because I would use a lot of dark and light imagery with like the characters and like the devil and the angels and like the different things. And people are like, this just speaks to me. And I'm like, oh, it's a scene from my book. And they're like, well, I need a book now too. So in that first couple years, I had sold like 500 copies. But I paid for all those copies. Those copies did not get sold on Amazon. I was just pushing them. So I knew the story was going to be fine. But my controller, I'm trying to show our YouTube channel back here, but it keeps wanting to tell me that, hey, guess what? One of your friends is on Fortnite.
I'm going to have to listen to that podcast. I might learn something.
So then we started going to, Chamber said, hey, it was me and my friend Sherry, who was also a painter. They're like, we really enjoy having you ladies here. You need to come to the other festival that we have that's longer and way more people. And it's an art festival, wine and arts festival. And I'm like, oh, so we came, we had the big setup. We sold so many paintings, sold so many books. I loved that. So that was the thing. I got out there and pushed it and sold those copies. So that is the thing as an author. You can't just expect your book to just sell. And even if you're traditionally published, it may not sell itself. Like, I go to Barnes & Noble and Books A Million all the time.
You can hear me because you're locked up.
All right, well.
Magic. Bam, there it is. Yeah, you're the shining example, though. You do not know how many authors I know that they'll get excited and they'll go to like a local, like the library's having a book gathering of authors, and they'll go talk about their book, and then they kind of fall off of it. I should do that more, but since I'm a vocal coach working with a lot of record companies, and traveling, doing workshops, then I'm not always selling the book like that to market myself. But that stuff markets my books for me too. So you
Yeah,
got
I
to
need to
hit the
get back
ground
on
running.
that wagon because I enjoy doing author events. And we've done one together before,
Don't
even
even
though
go
you
there.
didn't sell hardly anything. And I did. Because you
I'm pretty
didn't put
sure
yourself out there.
I'm pretty sure Dustin bought your book, and I had to beg him to take mine. I gave it to him.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's the thing though.
I hate
But
you,
we
Dustin.
went there. We went there and they remembered me from the time I did a book signing prior to that.
No kidding. You didn't. I don't remember you
Yeah,
telling me
they're like, "Well, we
this.
got in our database and we remember you coming before and you sold a lot of books the last time you were here." So they were super super like, kind to me and they were great. And that's the Book Loft in German Village if you're ever
Yep.
in Ohio and downtown Columbus.
Amazing bookstore.
An
Like
amazing bookstore.
30 something rooms. It's crazy.
And I keep telling Katie, one of our author, Catherine Horsley, she needs to go there. She needs to put herself in that space because
Yep.
that space there, they'll put her in a room where there's a bunch of other vampire books. So someone looking for something more, in that realm is going to come by an author. Like they don't put you like based on what my book is about, they put me in a room that was near that. So people
Yep.
who are shopping for those types of books are going to see me. And then there were some children's authors in the other room, remember?
Yep.
And so they had like 3 children's authors over in one of their other rooms. They didn't put us all together. They put them over there where people would be shopping for children's books.
Exactly.
Great marketing. So, all right. So again, we have the 75-25, but we all, like Jamie mentioned, as us being hybrid publishers, we have the 50-50 where we take on the cost, but you do not make royalties until the cost is recovered. It's very similar to traditional publishing where you don't recoup anything, you don't make anything until the cost is recuperated. However, your percentage is going to be higher with your royalties when you finally do recuperate that. So once the editing has been paid for, the book cover has been paid for, the layout design has been paid for, ISBN number has been paid for, you start to make 50% of that royalty. And so, there are your versions. So if you're interested, that's
more creative
what we do.
control too. I mean, I prefer to work with somebody and see their vision. So,
But that's not offered to everyone because to be honest, even though we would take on not every book, we are going to open submissions at some point. But there has to be a type of book that we're like, you know what, this is hitting trend. This book is hitting all the things. There's a niche for this book. Let's take this book on and really push it because that means more marketing time, all these things that we're going to have to work with that author. So
yeah, so it's nothing personal. I mean, if I've seen many books, I'm like, it's just not hitting. 50 Shades of Grey came out, and then everybody was doing the 50 Shades of Grey book.
now everybody's an erotic author.
Yes, and then if it's 5 years afterwards, you're like, oh, I got 47 Shades of Black. I'm like, okay, that was trending 5 years ago. But even so, if you're hitting a trending market, there's got to be something unique. There's got to be a spin.
Stand out, yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, at the same time, there's often times when I'm binge watching something on Netflix. I'm like, I need something just like that. Give me something similar. So it's not that you can't, just don't make it the same. There are people who desire to have a similar concept going through and they want to keep reading stuff like that once they're done with the series. So it's not that it's not, but you've got to make it stand out. Don't make it exactly like Twilight. Don't make it exactly like
I know. I did the Harvey Potwizzle series, and he went to a magical college. He was an orphan. It just didn't go anywhere. And I don't know why. I mean, I copied Harry Potter word for word. No, I'm just joking.
You're so, oh my gosh.
You were so into it. You was like,
I was like, I don't remember seeing this on our website. Where is that book?
Harvey Potwizzle.
I'm like, I have not done any ads for this book. Where is this book? No, okay. So, and a real quick, so this is the basic 3, with an offshoot of the ugly stepsister. But there also got to remember there are people who publish graphic novels. There are people that publish textbooks, which are different.
Comics.
You have professional. That's something that down the road I'm going to invite one of my friends who has written for McCall, like the McGraw. Oh my gosh, my brain. She wrote a textbook for colleges. For nursing for colleges. So it'd be interesting to see how she did that. Like, how did you lay this out? How did you whatever? because that's a whole different world, because making sure the content is up to date, professional books,
Now
accounting
I
books,
have to look it up. I think it's McGraw Hill instead of
Yes,
McGraw.
yes, it is. It's McGraw Hill.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm like, McGraw, McGraw.
Yes.
It's like the bird. But that's the thing. There are different types of publishing. But if you're publishing a book with fiction, nonfiction in the basic book world, there's those three different types that you can choose if you're trying to get your story out there. But like it's with anything else, you have to decide what fits you and your work and how long you want to take it to the next level. You know what I mean? Are you willing to put yourself out there? Are you going to put yourself on social media? So that's the thing. You just got to make what fits for you.
Absolutely. But you got to take that step.
Yes.
So,
yeah. So, and with self-publishing, one of the things, and like with us, one of the things you can do, you could always reach out to us if you're wanting to self-publish and you're just trying to figure out stuff. And you're not looking to be published by us or anyone else. We're more than happy to help you. You can email us at alwayswritepodcast@gmail.com. You can reach out on our socials. You can even comment on one of our videos and see if maybe we can respond to you and maybe help you out for your writing. So, yeah.
So there you go.
That's about it.
That's about it.
For now, yeah.
I dig it. We were able to take this podcast longer. When we was doing ISBNs, like pulling teeth, because I'm like, ISBN. What can I say? It's 13 numbers.
Sometimes the boring topics, but you know what? It's fine. It's things that people need to know. And not everybody understands the ins and outs of publishing and writing and stuff like that. So as long as we can help you get your work out there, we're not trying to say you all have to come to Vendera, but we want to say us as Vendera publishers and authors, we want to help you in whatever facet is you try to take your words.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had this podcast back when I started this, because I had to do a lot of studying and figuring this out. And honestly, one of my cover designers, Molly Burnside, if it weren't for her, I never would have got through Ingram and Lightning Source printing. She is the one that found that for me. I would have had no clue. And I was one of the very lucky ones, since I started in 03, 04, to get accepted into that. They do not do that anymore, which is why they have Ingram Spark now for smaller publishers. So, yes, we get the team if you need us.
Right. And I am the sultry librarian, Carissa Delane.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, thank you for listening, as always. And we are Always Right Podcast, and we'll talk to you next time.
See you soon.